Welcome to Remodel Your Life. We are shining the light on women thriving in the trades and remodeling their life into something better. Join a female carpenter as she interviews women around the country about the incredible variety of careers and financial opportunities for women in construction and the skilled trades. And now, your host, Camille Finan.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me on the Remodel Your Life show. I'm Camille, and today we're talking about a very interesting topic, which is the mindset around being a starving artist. And I've got with me Katie Thompson, who's joining the show again to talk a little bit about her new workshop called Tell Your Story workshop and how she's really trying to change the mindset in the woodworking industry to, really want to thrive and not feel uncomfortable making money with your art. So, Katie, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me again, Camille.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about some of your thoughts around, this sort of old mindset of being a starving artist and how you might think a little differently around that?
Well, just the day and age that we live in, we have more access to everything than we ever had before. And the same goes for artists and how we connect and build our networks, how we approach press, how we sell our artwork. Everything we do, we have all of these new tools that so many artists and creatives for a long time didn't have these. So old strategies aren't going to work with these new tools. So just kind of on that basis right there, it's time for people to pivot a little bit and use these things, use these new tools to their advantage. And also living in the modern world, there's so many different ways to make a career through your art, whether it is selling your art, straightforward, or, teaching, or, writing, sharing your expertise somehow. Artists have a lot more to offer than I think they realize sometimes. And it is definitely time to change that mindset and have, no more hiding in the corner. Oh, I don't want to show my work. Like, let's be confident about this. So,
yeah. Well, and I think I remember back to when I was just starting as a carpenter and I was so uncomfortable with being judged, right? I was so worried that my kitchens weren't pretty enough. My finishes weren't good enough. Like, right. You have all those things around when you're kind of learning your craft, and it's hard to know, like, what's that line when you feel professional enough, right? Or good enough to ask for what you're worth, right? So I know the struggle's real, right? I remember that. And so what's your thoughts on that? Like, when do you think you're, what's sort of that line where you consider yourself a professional and where you can start really sharing your story and your work with confidence instead of kind of comparing yourself to your colleagues, right? Like where does that line fall for you?
Well, I was just about to say, it is definitely that line is a mindset. And as soon as you stop looking outside of yourself and start looking inwards, what is your why as an artist? Why are you here creating this? What is your story? And once people are able to kind of focus in on that and say, hey, this is why I do this. I'm really good at this. Or I'm really passionate about this. And just changing that focus, changing that mindset, taking yourself seriously is when you start to become a professional. I can relate to that as well as an early artist. It was very humbling to go into some of the opportunities and relationships and things that I did. And it was like, you have that imposter syndrome, like, they're going to find out I've only been doing this 2 years, or they're going to find out, and that's ridiculous because your value isn't determined by anybody else but you, truly. And like I said, the sooner you start taking yourself and your skills more seriously and stop looking outside for validation, stop looking outside for reassurance that you're doing the right thing, that comes when you're secure with yourself. And that's this course, that's what I really like about it, is it's very simple. It makes you think. The prompts are really to challenge the way that you view yourself, you view your work, and hopefully help you get that little bit of perspective shift that you need to say, hey, I'm an artist.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I like about that's a good segue to the course, the Tell Your Story workshop, what I really love about it is that I feel like it really helps you build your confidence which is so much about what we do is about just having the confidence to realize like what you're doing is good enough, right? Most of us go way past the point of when it's good enough before we actually give ourselves like permission. Right. And so I think the courses does a really good job of making you feel really good about what you do. And when you feel good about yourself, feel good about your work, you want to share it more, right? You're much more comfortable authentically sharing it. So let's talk a little bit about like what the class is actually about. I know you on your channel, you talk, somewhat about some of your background, but you don't really share just how great you really are in a lot of ways. So I thought it would be fun to kind of, delve a little bit deeper into your background with press and getting articles in really pretty good big magazines and how you've done that, right, with yourself personally and for clients. So let's start with just an overview of what is this workshop about and like who can it actually help?
So the workshop is all about finding your voice and finding ways to share that, like you said, with confidence, efficiently, and to help grow your business or your career, get your work seen. So it starts out with a lot of kind of, artist development techniques, creative writing techniques, helping you get down to the basics of what you're doing. It's really easy for us when we follow our passions to just hit the ground running and go. And then you get to certain points and you notice, I should have, picked up this piece along the way, or I should have developed this a little bit more before I came to shows, and that this part of the course is really to help you just kind of slow down, go back, like I said, go back to the basics, figure out why you're doing this and developing your story. So, once you figured out your why, you feel very confident in what you're saying and you know that, and practicing that and different ways to become more comfortable doing that. And then finally, we talk about ways you can actually express your story through press, through social media, through, earned versus paid opportunities. We go into, a little bit of artist development all the way to really focusing on PR and showing people that they don't have to hire a super expensive, agency, but they don't have to sit in their shop, by themselves either. That, a little bit of effort and a little bit of strategy can actually take you very far, starting with things like local papers, get to know who your local arts and culture reporter is, see what kind of stories they are writing, network, don't be afraid to cold pitch them. Don't be afraid to follow up on those pitches. We also in the course talk about some tips for writing press releases effectively. Again, more strategy on distributing that. So people can become their own marketing department really within their art and their art practice and their, creative business. So we talk about a wide variety of things, but ultimately, like you said, it's to help people feel confident in their story, what they're sharing and who they're sharing it with.
Yeah. And, for me, the value of this for such an inexpensive class, it's $47, but it can teach you how to get into some really big magazines. And with social media now, whenever I used to get in the press, I wasn't even trying to, right? Occasionally it would happen. But back then, like you didn't have any social media buttons, right? So you were really dependent on a potential client reading that article about you or your company and then sort of finding you, right? But now it's so fast and easy for them to link from the article, right? That it's a really amazing way to get clients. And like you said, it doesn't take very much effort. A lot of those places are dying for content, right? They're dying for information and they would love to cover what you're doing and how your product helps somebody. So I think it's a really inexpensive and easy way to get your work out there. And I think sometimes people just forget about traditional media, right? They maybe forget about some of those avenues for themselves locally and regionally. And most woodworkers sort of sell locally and regionally. So I think it's great that you cover that. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some few things around like getting press ready? Like, what do you think editors are, what are editors sort of looking for that you could give us like one or two tips real quick?
Sure. Well, definitely when you are pitching them or, writing a press release, being succinct to the point, hitting those things early on, grabbing their attention, that's really important. And then, furthermore, to grab their attention, think about things that set you apart from everyone else. You are you are the only you. So there is definitely something about you that stands out and is different from what is typically offered. So think about that and incorporate that into your story as well. That's also helpful to catch editor and writer's attention as well.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of the clients that you've sort of this strategy that you've helped. You've gotten in front of some pretty big names and some pretty interesting connections. How, can you talk a little bit about you don't have to name all their names, right? But can you talk a little bit about like some of the clients that you've helped, get press or get yourself into press a little bit that people may not know about you?
Absolutely. So when I started my career, I graduated from the College of Charleston in 2009. And being a communications professional, I think I remember one of my professors saying, you have to be competitive. You have to get internships. You have to get experience before you even graduate, because when you graduate, 70,000 other communications graduates are also graduating just that year alone, from college. And I was like, whoa, that really put things into perspective. And I was like, all right. And I got my first internship like the next week. So starting from there, I learned the basics of, nonprofit arts management, seeing how they interact with the press, how they handle their events and their announcements. That taught me a lot. And then, of course, like once I graduated and started freelancing and taking on different clients, you approach a different business or a different client differently. So one of my longtime clients was a produce farm. And so how I would go about, promoting their program, and they actually had a community supported agriculture program. So there was like kind of this nonstop sales element going on as well for them. Coming up with a press release and distributing it to all of the, the local and regional newspapers, all the community calendars, identifying all of the little, food bloggers, people that are writing about food, or maybe have, a column in a local weekly, really like targeting all those things, and also making sure that they go to networking groups. So people can also associate, a face with that name that they're reading in the paper. So that required a little bit different strategy than I had been used to. And it was very much kind of a boots on the ground, having to go to events and things like that. So while I found it was really easy to get into the press and these, like I said, community calendars and getting different articles and things like that written on the farm, it was also a lot of having to build direct relationships with the customers. And I think we served at our peak, it was like 1,200 families, possibly, maybe more. I can't remember, but weekly, so it was a lot of relationships to build, it took a lot of strategy, and that was a little bit different approach than maybe I would have used for an artist. But having that experience, and then also my experience in other corporate communications roles, I've worked with, healthcare and, other advocacy nonprofits and things like that. It's just given me a lot of different experience, a lot of different perspective. And it's also made me really passionate about helping people. I've been very fortunate to be selective of the different industries that I work with. And it's taught me a lot about, the importance of building relationships for different industries and how a business or a maker or artist's relationship with their customer is different compared to the next. Really interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I love that now you're applying those skills to the woodworking industry, right? To the artist industry and helping them get a lot more notoriety, right? A lot more sales, hopefully. Um, so let's talk a little bit about this VIP option, because I love that you are willing to share your time and attention with so many people. And so for not a little, just a little bit more money, they can basically get your eyes on all their homework and your help with their specific angles to their specific companies and products. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So the VIP package at the end of the course, they can submit, any or all of the work they've done for me to look over. And it's basically a mini consultation. I'm going to take the time to look through this and make some notes. And at the end, I'll type up, kind of some suggestions, my thoughts, maybe some customized action steps, hey, maybe focus more on social media, or, hey, let's, consider starting, going down this route. And then also, helping them with everything from how they will, develop their message. Is their message tight enough? Is it clear enough? And then, suggestions on that all the way to, okay, let's tweak your strategy a little bit. Let's tweak your delivery. And, for students to be able to say, hey, I really enjoyed this section, but I felt like I struggled with this one. Like, can you give me feedback on that? Like that really, will allow the student to show me, hey, this is, a little bit more of what I need some feedback on, and I can provide them that customized feedback through the VIP package.
That's awesome. And that's, for you guys that don't know, she usually charges, a lot more to do one-on-one work with her. And so this is basically a way of getting that same attention for a really inexpensive price. And so if you've been thinking about getting into the press or getting into a magazine or getting into your local arts and crafts, part in your newspaper and really getting your work out there, Katie's the person to help you do that and give you that compelling angle that's going to get the attention of that editor, and also maybe just make you feel a lot more comfortable, confidently sharing your work with a bigger audience. So Katie, any little last minute thoughts that you want to share that, might help somebody understand if Tell Your Story Workshop is for them? I mean, I think we've covered a lot of it, but if I've missed something, let me know.
No, I think you did a great job. I just wanted to say that I'm so excited about this. This course started when, I teach at the Charleston Woodworking School. So this course has started specifically for woodworkers, and it has been amazing to teach it over the past couple of years and to now present it in this form. And I just wanted to emphasize how it could help you, if you're a woodworker, if you're an artist, if you're a maker, if you are a, creative professional, if you're a small business owner, these strategies, yes, the course is geared towards the more creative mindset, but there's so many different people this could help, whether you're, a new artist, whether you're a seasoned professional, and even if you work in the corporate world. Let's say you work in public relations or something like that. There are some techniques and some practices in here that can help you kind of brush up and, like you said, build more confidence and say, okay, I know what I'm talking about, and having that come across whenever you're talking to your customer and your audience.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I can't wait. Today is the last day, you guys. It ends today at midnight. So this is the last day to sign up for the Tell Your Story Workshop. It's only $47. You can finish it in under a month, and the VIP option is $97. This is the least amount that it's going to be. She's going to do this again in fall, but it won't be the same price. So if you want to make a difference in 2021 and really push yourself in your business to expand your audience, I think this is a really great option. And you get the lovely Katie to help you with that. So, Katie, thank you so much. And what else is kind of coming up on the horizon for you as we wrap this up?
Well, thank you again for having me on. And yeah, so many exciting things going on. And part of the reason why the launch is closing, for a couple of months till fall, is I'm also launching a new monthly digital journal, Pen and Chisel. It will be for woodworkers, artists, and makers. really focusing on creating a new culture around craft is kind of the tagline I'm going with there. But really excited about it. It's going to be different than what I think people are used to seeing as far as woodworking media and craft, media are used to talking about ways to build your business, talking about personal things like gender and how that's, affected people's careers and how it's done different things in the industry and how things are changing and need to be changed. We're not going to be afraid to go there, and it's definitely going to have plenty of takeaways, as far as education, how-tos, things like that. But, it is going to be different. It's not going to be your grandpa's woodworking magazine. That's for sure. And I'm really excited about that. And also providing a platform for so many new, fresh voices that see these changes and see what needs to happen. And I'm just so excited for the response. So thanks for the opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I can't wait. I know it's going to be very inclusive and diverse and interesting. And it's what I wish was there 25 years ago, right? When I was starting. So I love how welcoming it is. And it's going to be really fun to see what comes out of that. So thank you so much for joining us today. And you guys, I'm going to put the link in the bio. It'll be up just for the rest of today. So sign up now. And really enjoy the Tell Your Story workshop. And Katie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Camille.
Thanks so much for listening to Remodel Your Life. I sure have enjoyed being with you today. And if you really like our show, we'd love it if you would subscribe through iTunes. You can always send us feedback through email at Camille@remodelyourlifepodcast.com. And I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Remodel Your Life podcast. This episode has ended, but your remodeling journey can continue. Head over to remodelyourlifepodcast.com to access all the resources, tools, and links mentioned in this episode. Until next time, get your hands dirty and create the life you want from the foundation up.
And thanks again to Blue Apron. I just love cooking with them and so appreciate their support of my show.